Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. Oh, hi. I didn't see you come in. Tonight's show is an idea that I stole from I Die, You Die. So we have a technical podcast where I've stolen a lot of ideas from that for this show. So you might want to check them out at some point because you'll get to hear stuff, I guess, that'll eventually be on this show. Today's episode I really liked from them. It was called The Cringe Aesthetic, and it was stuff that just bothered them in goth and industrial music. I thought it was really good. All right, so I'm going to explain the show the best way, tonight's show the best way I can, by reading to you folks from the email I sent to the band. So ready? You'll each be picking a number between 1 and 191, which corresponds to a randomized list of bands/artists that span decades and genres. When did you first become aware of these artists? Do you now or did you ever own any recorded material from these artists? Were you a fan? Are you still a fan? What are your general thoughts on these artists? And we'll be going from band member to band member. So just an example, okay? Let's say a band member were to pick number 133, which corresponds to Ted Nugent. Now, Theodore Nugent, let's call him Theodore, is not on the list. We just didn't have room, but we're using him as an example. So someone picks 133, that's Theodore Nugent. So then the band member who selected 133 would then discuss their thoughts about Theodore Nugent. And then, did they own anything? Did they like him? Did they ever like him? Just by the way, for straight out openness, I did, when I was young, own a copy of Weekend Warriors because I like the song Need You Bad. And eventually my Siamese cat that I grew up with, jumped on the record, scratching it all the way across, like dragging the needle, because the cat hated the News, who did the song Cat Scratch Fever, oddly enough. Anyway, so getting back into the explanation. Then each member in the usual order, which will go Joe, Dan, Dean, then me, will discuss the artist that the person picked. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, you may pass on an artist once. If you do that, I will then randomly choose for you in the Dungeons and Dragons method using these dice, which I can now write off on my taxes because I showed them to you. And that pick is permanent. You can't get away from the artist then. It's like I said, it's 191 artists. Most of them people know. There are 2 newer artists on the list, but those artists have had hits with, where millions of people have listened over Spotify. All right, so if everyone is ready, I'm going to bring up my list and I'm going to go to Joe. And Joe, have you been thinking about a number all week?
I have.
Oh, good. Oh, it's exciting. So this is good. Are you ready to open the door for your mystery day? Okay. Don't you remember that game?
I do.
Come on. It was a great game. If you don't remember that game, you're too young to watch this show. All right, Joe, what number are you picking?
23.
23. Oh, number of the Illuminati. Okay, 23.
30 album.
Yeah, 23. And let me know if this is going to be a dream or a dud. I lean to dream on this one. Number 23 is Salt and Pepper.
I know of that. I know of Salt and Pepper. I remember hearing them on the radio, but they did this. They had a big hit that said Push It in it. And I don't know a whole lot about them. I never, ever owned a record by them. But I do know that I saw them perform at Temple University. I forget the year, but it was when the Dead Milkmen played at the Spring Fling at Temple University, and I graduated from that school. And I remember Spring Flings there of the past, and I was amazed that they asked us to play, or we played, but we played opening for Salt and Pepper.
Which
that really happened.
Go over too well.
We went over about as well as you can think. Yeah.
Well, we had fans, but they were dispersed and far away, it seemed. And Salt and Pepper's fans were...
They were in another state. They weren't there.
And they wanted... They were waiting for Salt and Pepper to come on the stage, and they were not having us, really. But that's all I know about them, really. Except they were a big hip-hop act.
Dan, you want to comment on Salt and Pepper?
I don't own anything by them. But you know what? If I'm listening to the radio and Push It comes on, like I'll listen to it, especially like the remix. Occasionally you hear that on the radio. Yeah, I like their rapping style though. I think it's cool. And it's a catchy song. And I always thought that was fascinating that you guys played with them. And by the way, it's Peppa, Joe.
Peppa, yeah. You got to do what John Mulaney does, that bit where Patrick Stewart from Star Trek had to introduce them on Saturday Night Live, and he's like, "Salt and pepper." He didn't think they could find pepper or something. He's like, "Wait, okay, salt and pepper."
I actually think we own a Salt and Pepper CD. I don't know whether it's a greatest hits or one of their albums, or maybe it's probably the album with Push It on it. We actually own one of their CDs. This probably has something to do with both my wife and I worked at Wooders Books and Music in the 90s, and we have a lot of CDs. I think we have almost 900 CDs still. As far as the band, I thought it was cool that we were playing a show with them. I always like to play shows where there are lots of different types of artists on the bill. So I was pretty pleased about playing that show. Unfortunately, we couldn't win over their fan base.
But they were super nice. Afterwards, they took pictures with us. They were, there was. I was really looking forward to meeting Spinderella, who I don't think they used to let her do the things, all the stuff for the album. So I think they just let her be on stage. But apparently, she was indeed quite talented. So, any other thoughts on Salt and Pepper, Dean?
Didn't town managers incorporate Push It into a song? Yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys cover it, or just like worked a verse or something into it, or a chorus into one of your songs?
It just worked the Push It part in.
Okay.
Joe used to do that a lot when he was younger too. He used to have these songs like where they go like push, push in the bush, make your body work, like Captain Kirk. I love that. We got to bring that back. So, gentlemen, using the mystery date rules, I think we can all agree Salt and Pepper are a dream, not a dud. Do we all agree?
I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, Dan, have you been thinking about a number all week? You excited, chomping at the bit there? Okay, Dan, get ready to open the door for your mystery date. What number are you choosing?
200. Oh no, 113.
113. Okay, and allow me to take a look down here and see who's got 113. 113 is occupied by the Smiths.
Oh,
so
okay. I own many things by the Smiths. I used to own some somewhat rare 12-inch singles, and there was a flood about 20 years ago, and my records were all in milk crates, and a lot of the jackets got ruined. I did spread everything out all over the house, like separated the records and the sleeves, but some of the sleeves, like, they just worked. But yeah, I think I've talked about it before on Big Questions about Johnny Marr guitar playing, and the bass player was Andy Rourke or something. Great rhythm section, great guitar player. We all know about Morrissey, which I at the time in my late teens, early 20s, like I enjoyed it, and I liked his lyrics, his voice. Like I got used to it. I know Chris Peelout has said he just cannot stand 1 second of his voice, and I get that. But yeah, so Smiths.
Did you see the headline in the Hard Times that said Morrissey sues Ron DeSantis over stealing his racist rants? For plagiarism.
Did you see where they had a character? Oh shoot, what was
The Simpsons. There's an episode of The Simpsons where they have a character based on new Morrissey. Yeah, it's a great episode. My brother-in-law showed that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would dance to anything by the Smiths.
Right. Joe, what are your thoughts on the Smiths, if that is their real name?
I remember hearing them on college radio in the 80s, and I thought some of the songs were catchy, but I didn't buy anything by them until I guess it was the 90s. I got a CD, which was a collection thing, and I don't even know what the name of it is. I forgot. But it has I guess I don't know.
I remember you worked for that collection agency at
Collection.
the time.
I don't know. But I do remember Chris saying he couldn't stand hearing the Smiths, even for 1 second. I never got into anything that Morrissey did without the Smiths. I think what I liked about Smiths was the music and not so much. I didn't really get into the Morrissey part, but I could take him or leave him. I know we covered one of their songs. I think I bought that MP3 so I could learn it. Although it's probably on the CD I had too.
Dean, thoughts on the Smiths?
I'm not a super fan. I think I like Johnny Marr's guitar playing is probably the best part of that band. But I don't think we own any Smiths records, although who knows, but no, I mean, I wouldn't actively play the Smiths or seek them out. And yeah, I'm not a super fan of Morrissey's singing stylings.
I think this is a 3-1 dud vote. But I am not a Smiths fan. Everybody knows one Smiths song, How Soon Is Now, and it sounds nothing like the rest of their songs. And Johnny Marr can't remember how he does the guitar part. So live, that's a sample, which something actually the producer had come up with. So I mean, and nothing against Johnny Marr. He wasn't that. I think he was in like a terrible band with Peter Hook for a while. It was like where they put together this sort of super group that was what?
The
No, not the. No, that was long before this. No, I forget. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of this band.
He played with Modest Mouse.
No, not Modest Mouse.
Yeah, he did.
Modest Mouse for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the group they put together with people from New Order, and then it had Johnny Marr in it. It wasn't. Don't bother looking for it. It wasn't that good.
Someone in the comments can let us know.
Yeah, if you know what that is, it's pretty much electronic. And Marr thought, well, I play guitar so much, I don't want to play guitar on this. And yeah, it's and I think they actually covered that on the I Die You Die podcast. Go find that. But yeah, I'm not a super fan. I was always kind of weirded out when other musicians will find a way to say nice things about the worst stuff, and they're always like, well, his lyrics are really. I'm like, no, they're not. No. I want my money back, and I didn't even pay anything. Okay, so it's kind of a 3-1 dud vote there. Sorry, Dan, but for you, it's a dream, and that's a good thing. So you got your money's worth out of the Smiths, whereas the rest of us are.
Actually, I think I stole a couple Smith CDs out. Not kidding.
Shoplifting. Yeah. Shoplifters of the world. Isn't that a Smith song? Yeah. They even made fun of Morrissey on Mystery Science Theater 3000, where they had Keeping Your Pop Stars Fresh, and they open it up, and it's one of the guys that's Morrissey. He's like, I wrote this song in a very sad time in my life this morning at breakfast. Okay. All right. Dean, are you ready to open the door for you? I love saying that. Open the door for your mystery date and pick a number.
I am ready.
All right. What number are you picking?
I would like to try the number of Bernard, 17.
17. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to go up the list here. Still scrolling. 17 is Hüsker Dü.
Oh.
From the German, Hüsker Dü.
Hüsker Dü. I am a fan of some of their songs. We have played a show. We played a show, at least one show with them. Did we play more than one show with them?
We probably played dozens of shows.
Yeah, and all very nice fellows. And I like some of their songs. I was not an uber fan. I don't think I actually own any of their records. I can't remember. And I got to see, well, our friend Johnny Wurster, that Johnny Wurster kid, has played drums for Bob Mould for the past 10 years or more. And so I've got to see them live, and that's always a fun show. Got to say hi to Bob after not seeing him for like 25 years, so that was cool. Yeah, I mean, I like them. They're okay. They're good. They were the trailblazers for the 1980s punk rock touring scene, which we, they did it before we did, and we followed in their footsteps. And it was good. They were good.
They were good. Okay, so you would say a dream as opposed to a dud.
Oh, yes, I definitely would find them dreamy.
Joe, Hüsker Dü, dream or dud?
Definitely dream. I think I bought all their albums. They broke up, I guess, in I don't know, 89 or something. I forget.
They blame you for the breakup, if I remember.
Yeah, they blame me. That's terrible. But I liked them a lot. I even sang "I Love Hüsker Dü" sometimes when we did 2 Feet Off the Ground at the end of it instead of do 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 do. Yeah, there's.
And I think they're mentioned in The Thing Only Hippies, right?
Oh yeah, their names are.
Yeah, we've been meaning to replace that with 3 more current references.
At first, it was Black Flag members, and then it became.
It was the guys from Health at one point, because I found out that the guitarist from Health is a big fan of Joe's guitar style.
Yeah, that's what
we were going to use Health at one. Yeah, keep it more current.
Yeah, that's right. Health.
Yes. So you would say you seem to like them.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay. Dan, where are you on these Hüsker Dü fellas that are plaguing our towns?
I listened to like Zen Arcade probably in my late teens, early 20s. And I thought it was all right. The song like "I Will Never Forget You" was cool. And I was just like mildly interested. But I remember getting a cassette tape of, is it Metal Circus? Which was cool. And I didn't like the Flip Your Wig album, but years later, I saw the Land Speed record, and I was like, you know what? Let me pick this up. And I was blown away by that. I don't think I ever heard anything so fast and intense and like flowing into each song. There was like no breaks. It's because it's a live album, and they play something like 30 songs in like 18 minutes or something. So I'm kind of have mixed feelings about them, but I remember really enjoying the section of the book "Our Band Could Be Your Life" that profiled them. Kind of made me have like a renewed interest when I read that like 20 years ago. So yeah.
So for you, they'd be a dream as opposed to a dud.
Yeah, kind of like when you're falling asleep and you're not quite asleep, but you have like that twilight moment. Yeah, that kind of dream.
Yeah, that's called nitrous oxide, Dan.
Oh,
don't look at me! Don't look at me!
I gotta call my dentist.
Bobby! The candy color clown. The Frank Booth for you people. Okay, so I'm just going to say about Hüsker Dü. I used to listen to them a lot. "Girl Who Lives on Heaven Hill," great song, because they were always kind of around if you were in our scene and you listened to them. Haven't listened to them in a long time. The advice I usually give bands is if you have umlauts in your name, you should be a metal band. But I really like them. Like I say, I haven't listened to them in years. Maybe I should go back and give another listen. But also, much like Mystery Date, the game Hüsker Dü was advertised on TV a lot when I was a kid, and they used to go in Danish, I think it's Danish or Finnish or some one of those weird languages. Hüsker Dü means "do you remember?" And we were actually at one point almost called Hüsker Dü when we were playing around with band names. We had like the singer-songwriters of the 70s was one we kicked around, and Hüsker Dü was another, because I remember seeing the ad. So yeah, we would have had to duke it out with Hüsker Dü. But there were 4 of us, but they could have probably still taken us, all 3 of them. So I've got nothing against Hüsker Dü. I will give them a dream tick. All right, guys, I'm going to roll randomly for myself here, and let's see what I get. Get out of there. Getting the dice. We'll go this dice first.
How many sided dice are those?
I got a 30. These are the big heavy metal dice that I actually have been using to play Dungeons and Dragons for many, many years. All right, I got number 32. So let's see what 32 is. Oh, it's a dream for me, a nightmare for others. Rush. Okay, so wait a minute. This is so weird. I swear, this is the weirdest thing. I should find a link for it. Just, I think it was yesterday or today. I haven't been feeling well, so I'm kind of out of it. Have a nasty cold. I took out my voice for a while, so I know I was going to do the show. But so Rush, I saw a video called, it showed how to do the intro, how to make the intro sound to Tom Sawyer. That, and I thought that sounds really fresh today. It does. This is going to freak people out. I've seen Rush live a bunch of times. I've owned a lot of Rush albums. I like Rush. Permanent Waves, I think, is a really good album. Witch Hunt. I know a lot of people jumped on Rush because of the Ayn Rand thing. There's nothing more annoying. My worst fear is that I will be stuck in an elevator, this trapped between floors with a libertarian who wants to talk about Ayn Rand. That said, like Red Barchetta, yeah, that song fucking kills, man. I tell you, Witch Hunt is fucking awesome. It should be remade by a band. I have nothing but good. I remember when Rush went on Colbert a few years ago, and he deemed them as being cool. I really do. I can remember seeing them once, and they were flashing up images from Eraserhead. Friends of mine saw Blondie open for Rush, which must have been, were you at that one, Dean?
Yes, I was.
You were at the Blondie opening for Rush show?
Yes, I was.
All right, we're going to go out of order right now. We're going to go to Dean instead of Joe. Dean, you saw what I would consider the quintessential concert, Blondie and Rush.
Philadelphia Spectrum, Blondie opening for Rush.
This is like us opening for Salt and Pepper. How did Blondie go over? Go over well?
They did not go over well. I probably was one of maybe a handful of people who was actually there to see both bands. They got through most of their set. They began being pelted by fruit and other objects, so they had to abandon their set, I think.
I threw stuff at Journey once, so I can't.
But yes, I was at that show, and I was there to see both bands, and I loved both bands, and I do like Rush. It was not the only time that I saw Rush. I saw them. I also believe I saw them up at the Allentown Fairgrounds, and that show was Judas Priest was one of the openers, and who did Boom Boom Out Go the Lights, the cover?
Oh, that's Pat Travers.
Pat Travers band.
Boom Boom. That may be the one where was that the one where they were filming for the video for him, and they kept having to stop so they could film that? I don't know.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, that was Allentown. Okay.
So yeah, I've seen Rush at least twice, and I honestly don't know if I ever bought any of their records, but they were always around, and I could hear them, and I did like them. I mean, you may remember, I think I've mentioned it on the show a long time ago, that before punk rock, I listened to a lot of prog rock. So, I mean, my very first concert at the Spectrum was Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So, anyway, yes, I definitely a dream date for me. Rush is a dream date for me.
Yeah, I between the ages of 16 and 18 and a half, I probably saw Rush 35 times or something. They were always at the Spectrum. They were always like, you would go like, Rush are playing. And my brother-in-law, he's now my brother-in-law, is a friend of mine. We were in high school, was a drummer and really into the Professor, Neil Peart. So folks, if you revisit those Rush songs, a lot of them translate really well. If you strip them down and modernize them, they will translate really well. I played around with a few of them. I've been shocked and surprised. Joe, where are you on Rush?
Well, I never bought any of their albums. I don't own any of them. I do remember hearing Tom Sawyer on the radio as a kid, and I like that song. But I also heard other songs. I mean, I was, not that unexposed to them, but I never really glommed onto them for some reason. Or maybe they never glommed. I don't know.
If you glom on to somebody, they can file a restraining order.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear Mindless Self-Indulgence's cover of Tom Sawyer?
No.
People, you got to go look that up. Mindless
like
Self-Indulgence covered Tom Sawyer, and it's amazing. All right. Dan, where are you on Rush? Dream or dud?
We can say Dream just because they're Canadian, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
this is another with like a voice that I just couldn't I couldn't unpicture like an elf like running through a forest whenever he sings.
He sings like an escaped mental patient. Somebody once wrote that, and I love that line. Geddy Lee sings like an escaped mental patient. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Yeah. I don't know. It just was too like it's like the frequency that it is, that it just sounds like an ambulance to me. Like it's just, and it doesn't do much else. He just kind of stays in this range but as a bassist, he's incredible, and he's singing that weird shit overplaying these like complicated bass lines. And of course Neil Peart, and
Alex Lifeson, yeah.
Lifeson, that's his
name. The guitarist.
Yeah, and you know what? I always have the utmost respect for trios that can especially produce such a big sound. I know they got into like keyboards and stuff, and that was where they probably lost some fans, I guess. But I also have total respect for them for sticking out as long as they did. I know Neil Peart died just a few years ago, but they were pretty effing active and prolific. Have a pretty awesome career, so I would say Dream. Yeah, Dream Date.
I just remembered something that I saw online, and I'll see if I can find a link. Geddy, of course, is the bass player, but I think in recent years he did away with using amps on stage, and he had like these power things, and he would have like a washer and dryer on.
They had dryers. They would put T-shirts in them.
Yeah.
Later, they had these dryers were spinning behind him. Yeah.
Shoot them into the audience during the set.
I watched that whole concert of them from like Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Ben and I watched it. We were just like, wow, I forgot how good these guys were. So yeah, I recommend. And Geddy Lee, Dan, was so Canadian. He actually sang on "Take Off" with the Mackenzie brothers.
Yeah,
that was a big hit. So "Take Off to the Great White North."
White North.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. I will remove.
Awesome.
Thank you. I'll remove these bands from play. I'll put in other bands and expand the list. Who knows if we might play this again. But you folks can play this at home if you have absolutely nothing else to do. Or you can play Mystery Game. All right, so time for another thing I swiped from I-Die-U-Die, recommendations. Okay, so I'm first going to recommend his new movie "Talk to Me," which is A24 horror film. A24 is very smart. They distribute these little horror films, and they horror is like rock and roll. It's supposed to be subversive, and if you pump a lot of money into horror, put big stars in it, it's not going to work. And kind of like how U2 and the Rolling Stones will never have another hit song, but this is really, really good. It's in theaters, which is the saddest words are only in theaters, but it's also, you can get it on Prime. I think you can only buy it, but it's worth the $20 to buy it because you'll really, really like it. And I can say all sorts of great stuff about it. That new Exorcist film, Exorcist Believer, that's going to blow ass water all over the screen, and not in the good way. Spent a lot of money on that, didn't you? Didn't you, Universal Clubhouse? Yeah, it's gonna suck moose balls. Okay, so then I'm also going to recommend on Sunday. I went out to see 7 bands and one weird performance act that I missed because I went to get a sandwich. And all the bands were amazing. I mean, really, really good. I was blown away. So in the spirit of randomness, I randomly picked one of the bands that performed, and that band was called the End A.D. And we'll put up a link to their Bandcamp stuff, maybe a video. And they sound like a roller coaster ride through a war zone while someone played cymbals behind you and a group of children scream in fear. They were that good. They were really intense, and I really liked it. So I cannot recommend that enough. Please go check them out. Philadelphia band, as were all the bands that played, and I was really happy with that. And then while you're on the internets, there's a video popped up in my recommendations the other day, and I forgot how much I missed Chris Hitchens. And this was my top 7 favorite Hitchslaps. Hitchslaps are when Chris Hitchens would get a dumb question and just slap the person out of the ballpark. And we always say there are no dumb questions. Well, Hitchens didn't believe that. And it's just like 7 times he's just taken people out, including a rabbi who made a joke about child genital mutilation, saying that his son cried more at a haircut than a bris. And that did not go over well with Hitchens. So, so I really, if you just miss Chris the way we all do, I once saw him totally destroy an idiot, and it was very satisfying. All right. So I think, Joe, you're up next. What are you recommending for us on this fine day?
I'm recommending a YouTube channel called Virgin Rock. And it's centered around a young woman named Amy Schaefer, who was a classically trained musician, music teacher. And she met a guy named, I think, Vlad, who introduced her to the world of rock music and videos her first reactions to certain songs that she's never heard before. She has her story on the you can watch a video of her story so you can get the background of how she was shielded from this music up until whatever she is, 20
Music
something.
of the devil.
Theodore Nugent reacts to seeing Indoor Plumbing for the first time.
You get to see her react to these songs for the first time that most of us probably have heard many times, but maybe too many times. And then, but she also analyzes them, deconstructs them, and it's interesting. So check it out.
Andrew.
I would like to recommend the Lenape Valley Foundation, which I have worked for the past year, and next week is my last week there. I'm going to start doing full-time music teaching at Nook. And Lenape Valley Foundation is a mental health facility. They have many facilities. I was a maintenance, porter guy, driving sometimes. And I continue to get mental health services through them. So they were a great place to work for, and a great place that's helped me with some stuff.
I believe that's where Geddy Lee escaped from.
Yeah.
Sorry. Totally inappropriate.
But so yeah, if anybody out there is struggling, Lenape Valley Foundation is a good place where you can get some help. They have partial hospital program, which is where you're there Monday through Friday from 9 to 3, doing intense group therapy with a bunch of people, breaking up into different groups. And then they have programs past that, and they also have residential. So they have people who live there. And a lot of people I've gotten to know over the past year that I'm going to miss, but I know where they live. I can always go visit them. Yeah.
I would like to recommend, I can't remember, I don't think I recommended this before, but I just finished season 2 of the TV series called Foundation on Apple TV. It's loosely based on the books by Isaac Asimov. They certainly have taken liberties, but I never read the books, so I went into it not knowing the story and expecting much from it. But being a fan of sci-fi, I was open to the idea of watching the series. And I did enjoy the first series, and I had to wait, I guess, 1.5 years almost, or 2 years for the season 2, which started earlier this summer and just finished up last Friday. There's 10 episodes per season. So I recommend it. I mean, it's an interesting show. There's some really wild out there ideas. A very diverse cast, which is really great. Lots of strong women roles. If I can read you a short summary of what the show's about. The premise of the stories is that the waning days of the future galactic empire, the mathematician Harry Seldon spends his life developing a theory of psychohistory, which is a new and effective mathematics of sociology, and using statistical laws of mass action, it can predict the future of large populations. And then Seldon foresees the imminent fall of the empire, which is the ruling organization. and they don't like the idea of this. And Selden is predicting like the end of the empire and a 30,000 year dark age. But he claims that if we can modify certain things, we can reduce that dark age to just about 1,000 years. It's a lofty idea and story, and very difficult, I think, to cover in a TV show, an episodic TV show. There are just the 2 seasons now, with a reported plan for up to 8 seasons. And the next season is not slated to air until 2025. So I did some calculations. If you extrapolate that out with some new season every like 2 years, we're talking season 8's not going to happen until the year 2035. So, at least 10 years from now. So it'll be interesting to see if they can stick with it and they actually get the funding to produce the show for that long.
2-minute warning. I was we got 2 minutes left. I was a huge fan of the books, read the books religiously, almost memorized them when I was younger. There was a tough jump to me to the show, but there was a lot about the show that I did like. So if you read the books, don't expect the books. Do not expect the books. Expect that it is very loosely based on it, but still some really good stuff. All right, gentlemen, we've got 1 minute and 43 seconds. So I will say good night to everybody. This is it was a strange evening. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Look, Mom, no computer. All right, see everybody later. Bye.